Good afternoon, lovely people. How are you all today? I hope you're well. I feel full of the joys of spring today. Yay! It's taken me about 45 minutes to get to the garden today. I love days like today. Because it's the weekend, as I was walking down the high street, I've bumped into so many friends and neighbours and stopped for little chats here and there. And it's just, it's lovely. I felt like I was in Sesame Street this morning. It was gorgeous. And then I popped into one of my little local corner shops on the way. And one of my favourite shop assistants has been away for the last month. He's been back home to India. And bless him, when I saw him, he was so excited to tell me. His little face lit up. He and his girlfriend have got engaged and he proposed to her on the beach, and it all sounds gorgeous. They're in Goa, their family live. So yeah, it's just, isn't it amazing? It's, you know, I can't remember who wrote the poem. There's a poem, might be Spike Milligan, I can't remember, but about a smile being infectious and allowing yourself to catch it. Well, that certainly happened to me this morning. I just love it. I just love this little community I'm in. Anyway, that's it. Oh, I'm sorry, Poppy. Just sat on Poppy's tail. I'm digressing before I've even started. So actually, it's now just about noon. I'm really tardy this morning, but at home this morning, every time I tried to leave the house, something kept coming up. But never mind. I made a run for it. I turned the phone off and just made a run for it, and I'm here. Yay! So, not a huge amount to do today. I've got a couple of little in the shed jobs to do, which I'll show you. And mainly, where have I put it? It's the garden bird watch today. So, the only thing I'm concerned about with it being noon is that probably most of the birds are away roosting somewhere. So, I will do my bird watch today. And one of the other things I had planned for today, if I'd got here much earlier, last weekend when I was down here and I saw my neighbour Catherine, she's on the plot opposite me, we were just stood on the main path chatting away. And my bird feeders were absolutely full of birds. And as she suggested, she's like, oh, you should just put your camera on them. Just stick your camera on them and enjoy. And I thought, oh, that's a really good idea. So I don't know if it's going to happen today, but at some point in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to try to do that. Just point the camera at the feeders, and I won't narrate it, I won't do anything. It'll be a little meditation on the birds at the feeders, much as I did that little meditation on the bees between Christmas and the New Year. So, RSPB Bird-watch. And then a couple of my little shed jobs, but I think my first job, I'm going to have some cuddles with the cats. So my first shed job of the day, do you know, talking about the seeds a couple of days ago, don't half get your excitement brewing, done it? It's just like, Vivi, you have to calm down. And I'm really excited again because I've just had my, it's my white onions, my white onion delivery. Yay, all one's escaped. Hang on, I'll show you now. Where are you, little one? Whoopla. So, here are my little white onion sets. This is, the variety is called Jet Set. I've been using them for years. It was purely by accident the first time I picked Jet Set for my whites and Red Band for my reds. It's so hard to choose, isn't it? There are a myriad, varieties out there. I don't know why I chose them. I can't remember that initial thought process I went through to choose them, but choose them I did, and they did really well for me that first year, so I've just stuck with them. And I've generally always had really good harvests. They've both stored really well. Last year the bulbs were all a little bit smaller, but I think it's just because of the heat and the drought. But yeah, like I said, I've had good harvests and they've stored really well. So why muck around with something that's been working? Right, I'm just going to get them all spread out. I'll just tip you down so you can see what I'm up to. Tippy, 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 tippy. So what I like to do when I get my onions is, the last thing you want to do is be leaving them in the sack like this, especially if you've got them at home, which is going to be a bit warmer indoors, because what you don't want to happen is they start to sweat, and then I wish they wouldn't put them in these plastic net bags. Maybe I'll write to the company and say, hey, send them to me in a paper bag. But yeah, if you just leave them in the sack, especially if you've got them at home, the chances are they'll start to sweat, and then they may start to rot and go hinky. I'm going to keep this because that might do as a little holding pouch, I don't know, for maybe a squash or something. But just to say, while we're thinking about birds today as well, you see a lot of the fat balls come in these kind of bags. Please, please, please do not hang your fat balls out in the bags they come in. Birds can get their feet tangled in these things and then they can't get out, and they I've seen too many horrific pictures of poor little birds who are hanging upside down out of these nets dead. So actually thinking about that, I think even as a support from squash, I'm immediately changing my mind. I'm not going to use that. I think I'll just stick to some sort of sticks and macrame. Anyway, so yeah, so when you get your onion sets, give them a spread out. And what I'll do, I'll go through this much more thoroughly in a second when I'm off camera. But your sets should be blemish free. So we look, it's like a perfectly formed little teeny tiny onion. There shouldn't be any marks on it, and then give it a squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. It should be good and firm to the touch. Occasionally you'll find one like this, and you can immediately, I will hope you can see on here, that squash it, it's completely squashed. So that I'm going to chuck in the compost bin. Whoopla. I certainly don't want it sitting here with the rest of these. Here's another one. You can see it's obviously, and then if I squeeze it, oh look, it's squashed completely flat. You see? So where was my nice one? Nice one, nasty one. So there's always going to be a couple like that. Always, always, always. So just have a really thorough look through, a little bit of a squeeze, pull out any that are feeling soft and mushy. Use your instinct a bit as well. I know even if it's your first time with a veg garden, your first time getting onion sets, use your instinct, trust your instinct a bit. If you look at it and think, I just don't know, but something about this feels wrong, set it to one side and perhaps ask one of your more experienced plot neighbours later on about it. You could put a picture up in a Facebook group, that sort of thing. There's always, always someone out there to advise you. So, like I say, I'll do this a little bit more thoroughly in a second. But yeah, so, I can't stop, it's addictive. So I'll just leave them spread out in the basket. The basket's got nice sort of air movement around it. They've got plenty of air there. Fab. That's it until planting time. And generally speaking, another hinky one. Generally speaking, these will go out around about the beginning of April, just when that soil is starting to warm up a little bit. But we'll come to that when we come to it. Also, just to say, if you're ordering them, if you're getting your onion sets, anything mail order, and they arrive, and I've pulled out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've pulled out 9 hinky looking ones, but 9 out of that lot, whoopla, isn't a vast amount. If you find yourself pulling out loads of hinky ones, then I would send the whole lot back to your supplier and say, sorry, this isn't good enough. I would like a replacement or a refund, please. But get on to it quickly, especially at this time of year, because stocks will start to sell out. Okay, so that's my onions done. Let's set those aside a second. Hopefully I won't have a cat crawling into it and making it into a bed. So then I've also had delivery of my potatoes. Yay! So I'm doing, as my main crop, I'm doing Cara. Again, over the years I've tried a few different varieties, but I've always found Cara to be a really lovely taste, and they store pretty well. So I'm usually with the Cara, I just leave them be in the ground until, towards the end of September, excuse me, beginning of October. I leave them there until I need them. But then generally it gets to about October and I have to lift the whole lot out to make way for the garlic to go in. Now, I'll just say as well that my salad potatoes are Anya. Again, I've tried quite a few different varieties, but I just love the Anya. I kind of like their crazy bonkers shape. They're beautifully waxy, as you want all your salad potatoes to be. I think I need to sharpen my scissors. I definitely need to get on with this learning to sharpen, don't I? I'm going to just tug it. So, now that my potatoes have arrived, again, you don't want to leave things lying around at home indoors where it's kind of warm and humid. So I'm going to start the process that we call chitting. You do not have to chit, not by any means. I always say it, I'll say it again I'm sure, but you know, you imagine a farmer planting 3 million potatoes, she isn't going to chit her potatoes, is she? So, when we're chitting them, what we're aiming to do is to develop the first starts of the shoots, which are going to become the plant above. We're aiming to develop short, sturdy, strong little chits. So when your potatoes arrive, or you've been to the shop to buy them, it may not be obvious right away. I'm searching for one that is more obvious to show you. I think this might be the most obvious. Looks like a regular spard, nothing much going on. But when you look really closely, you see in the top there, just beginning to form is the first little sprout of life. If we look at the other end, you see there's nothing showing. So this is where our growth is going to come from, and this is what we want to develop as our nice chit. So all I do with mine, people do it with egg boxes. I don't eat eggs, so I never have any egg boxes. I've got these little cell trays, so they're perfect for it. So again, looking on this one, I can see, the first couple there. Let's see, one forming there. So it looks like they want to be going that way. So that's the way I'll stand it. So, like I was saying, there we go. Another one there. So occasionally you get ones that aren't obvious, because there's one there, and then if you look, there's one just down here. But up here, there are a couple and they look stronger, so I'm going to say that this is the top. You want to, let me just get rid of this second tray, so that's for the Anya. You want to develop, like I say, these strong, sturdy chits. So the ideal setting for them, I'm just going to move it so they're not touching. I don't want them to touch just in case one of them decides to be off. I don't want it to spread to the other. Yeah, you ideally want to do this somewhere that's cool. So the shed is perfect at the moment. But the main thing is you want light. Because if you don't have light, what you'll end up with is really long, stringy, spindly chits, which are no good to anyone. Look, I've got Baba Papa spud. Which way? I think that way. Yeah, if they can't get enough light, they will develop, like I say, these long, spindly chits, which are no good to anybody. If you've started some already and you've got your spindly, horrible ones, you can just with your sort of fingernail just sort of push them off and start again. Let's see. Now I've got no clue with this one. I'm just going to opt for that way up. So yeah, if you imagine your, you know, that random potato that sits at the back of the fridge that's lost, and you pull it out and it's like some kind of spider from Doctor Who, that's because of lack of light, and that's not what you want. Now, as I say, you don't need to chit by any means. You could just stick them straight in the ground. Not yet, because it's too cold. And I think most of us chit at this time of year, frankly, because we've got nothing else to do and we want to feel like we're doing something. Yay, give me something to do, I'm desperate. So if you get your sweet potatoes really late and you feel like you don't have time to chit, please, please, please don't worry. You can plant them anyway. Over here, the traditional day for planting them is St. Patrick's Day, the 17th of March. I've only managed to do them on St. Patrick's Day once. I really, really, really wanted to give it a go. Generally, I always seem to end up being way later than March. I have planted as late as the beginning of June, one year when I was really, really, really behind on things. But I still got a great harvest, so zero complaints. But yeah, I'll aim for about the 17th of March, but I won't be rigid about that, because if you remember last year, the week before the 17th of March, we'd only just had our snow go. So exactly like exactly like with your onions, if you take delivery, I'm just giving them all a bit of a look over, as you can see. If you take delivery of them and you think, hang on a minute, half of these are squashy, they're manky, whatever, send them back. The last thing you want to do is plant something that's going to either rot in the soil or, worse still, actually have disease on it that's going to spread. So look at this, it's like the knobbly little end. However, that may still sprout, so I will pop it in there. Actually, if you're really, really, really broke, and you can only afford 3 or 4 seed potatoes, one of the other things you can do is set them to chit, and then once they sort of the chits start going, any spuds where you've got 1 or sort of 2 or 3 chits coming out of the top, you can then actually cut the spud into sections. As long as each section's got a chit, then don't plant it straight away like that. Leave it to air dry so that those surfaces that you've cut have got time to sort of seal themselves, as it were. That is definitely a way to get more from your, more bang for your buck, as they say. I know there's a couple of the old boys who are no longer with us, God love them, on this site, always used to do it that way. Right, so that's it for the gardening. Oh, it's ridiculous, isn't it? This we're all so desperate to get going, aren't we? I am going to start sowing just a couple of seeds in about 3 weeks or so, but in terms of actually, they'll be at home, actually down here time. There's, oh, Poppy, hang on a sec, let me move that out of the way. Yeah, there's really not very, look at this, I've just got to show you. Say hello to everybody, Poppy. Yeah, there's really very little going on at all. Come the other way round, they don't want to see your bum bum. Poppy, Poppy, Poppy. Oh, she's a beautiful girl, isn't she? Yes, with Poppy. Oh, she's such a nosy kipper. What are you after? If she wants more cuddles, I don't mind. We'll have some more cuddles. Yes, so as I was trying to say, I've completely lost my train of thought now. Thank you, Poppy. With so little going on outside, it's nice to do a couple of little jobs. In terms of outside, it's just that kind of little bits of maintenance here and there. So it's looking like I might need to cut the grass again soon and do my edges, because it has been really quite mild, and we finally had a bit of rain all of this last week, and it looks like the grass has put on a bit of a spurt, so I may give it a trim. Just spend some time out there going around all my plants, make sure everything's still looking healthy. If something isn't looking healthy, get it out. Yeah, it's a very chilled time of year, isn't it? Okay, I think it's time to go and watch some birds. Poppy, what are you like? Oh, you sweet pea. She's a sweet girlie. Yeah, come on, let's go and watch some birds. Well, that's been such a lovely, lovely hour spent down here. The sun has tried to come out a couple of times. The light, when it does poke through, wow, such a difference. I don't know if you can hear in the background. There's been a lot of birdsong this last hour. There's been a little bit of activity on the feeders, a little bit of activity on the ground. Not a huge amount though. I think it's just the wrong time of day for me to do it. But I think from the point of view of giving info to the RSPB, I think it's really good that they'll have lots of different time slots and lots of different locations, because that's also telling us something about the birds and their behaviours. So not a huge amount seen, but I'm sure that information will be useful as part of a much bigger picture. So my mind has wandered a lot in the last hour. I've been daydreaming. I could probably have dozed off if it was warmer, but it wasn't. One of the things I was thinking about, just was, as my mind was wandering. Now, I don't want to, I think it is worth talking about. I don't want to cause any arguments, and I don't want to open a can of worms, as it were, but I was just thinking about this whole kind of organic gardening thing. And I think the vast majority of you, and certainly I, garden organically. But I was thinking about seeds, because a few days ago I'd had to go to B&Q, which is one of our big sort of like DIY building garden superstores. I was trying to find a cartridge to go inside one of my taps. Didn't have what I needed. Anyway, while I was there I thought, oh, I'll go and have a little quick look at the garden section. Not that I need anything, but I'll just go and have a look. And there was this massive display of bright colours, all enticing, of all their seed packets. So I was having a look through. There wasn't a single organic seed for sale. And it got me kind of thinking and feeling a bit, oh, how should I put it? A little bit of despair at the situation, really, because yeah, if you can't garden organically if you're buying non-organic seeds. There we go, I've said it. Those seeds, what it makes me think about, what I kind of feel sad about, is where those seeds have been raised. I kind of do think, what on earth has been sprayed on the plants? What on earth has been put into the soil? What on earth has gone through the soil and out into rivers or into the water table? It kind of horrifies me that we're still using such hideous chemicals on our land. So it's just something to think about, I think, really. For me, it's a no-brainer. I have to have organic seed. I'm an organic gardener, therefore my seed has to be organic. My seed potatoes are organic. My onion sets are organic. I have to know that the way my seed was raised was also organic. I have to know that that patch of land in, I think it's West Wales, for instance, for real seeds, I have to know that they're looking after that piece of land. Because, yes, even if setting the seeds aside, let's look at how we garden. Even if we garden the whole year without spraying a single nasty chemical around the place, that's one tiny little plot. When you think of the size of our plots to the vast acres given over to seed production, it's kind of like a drop in the ocean, isn't it? So it is food for thought. Just have a little think on it that, you know, we have to take responsibility for what we're buying and what we're demanding, because if we keep buying these seeds, the demand will stay. So the big companies who are producing the seed will carry on doing whatever they want to our planet with absolutely no regard, because people are buying their product. I know there's going to be people shouting at me now saying, yes, but organic is so expensive. Look, if I can do it with no wage, you can too. The thing is, so many seeds, they come in packets where you've got 700 or 800 seeds in a packet, like carrot seed, for instance. Do it with a friend. Do it as part of a social group, whether it's church or a social club or whatever it is. You can go in on it all with friends and share the seed. And of course, once you've done that initial purchase of your seeds, then you can save so many of your own seeds. So for example, yes, a packet of organic tomato seeds is expensive at £2.50 when you can buy non-organic at Wilko's or God knows where for £1. But I bought that packet of Gardener's Delight seed, 5-6 years ago. I've never bought seed again because I saved my own. So I accept that it's expensive, and I accept that for a lot of people money is a major issue. Please trust me, I know. I'm living from hand to mouth, so I know how every single penny counts. But like I say, for me, it's one of those, it's a no compromise situation. Organic seed all the way. I do not want to be part of an industry that is destroying a piece of our planet somewhere else. And the other thing is the packets. What I've noticed, this is interesting, so real seeds, they've been really naughty using their plastic packets until now, but they are changing to paper. Good, about blooming time. But with all the organic seeds I've had, all the paper it's kind of like the non-shiny stuff. I don't know how else to describe it. Yeah, so it's, once that seed packet is done and empty, you can just tear it up and put it in your compost bin. But all these things at B&Q and Wilko and the other places I've seen, they're all highly glossy packets. I wouldn't want to put that in my compost bin. Anyway, so I know that's probably a bit of a contentious subject for a lot of folk, but I do think it's worth putting out there to think about, because I think generally a lot of the time, and I do it myself, I'm not perfect, but when we go shopping we see the product and we think, oh, that's exactly what I want, without thinking about what went in to producing it, to getting it to that shop for me to have. And that's something we all need to do way more of. So if you want to garden organically, you have to start with organic seed. Share some, do swapsies. I'm always giving my seed out. Maybe at the end of this year I'll have a look to see what spare seed I've got and I'll give it to all of you guys. Or if there's someone out there who, you know, if you're particularly broke and you want to get started, you know, let me know. I'll see if I can share some of my seed with you. Anyway, there we go. I don't mean that as a Debbie Downer either. I mean it more as a, you know, let's think about things, let's do what we can. Yay! So I think now that my little bird watch is done, my onions and my potatoes are all sitting over there quite happy, I think I might just wend my way home and see if I can cook up something lovely with a little bit of a harvest from the garden today. So I hope you all have a lovely rest of your weekend. I don't know, you'll probably see this, it'll be the end of the weekend. So have a great week. I will see you all again really soon, I hope. But in the meantime, get up to stuff, have fun. Oh, and as I recently heard Stephen Fry saying, Be extremely kind to one another. I'll see you again soon. Take care, everyone.